This is NICU Babies Parent Support with Kathryn Whitaker, the podcast from Hand to Hold, a national nonprofit that provides free personalized support, resources, and community before, during, and after your baby's NICU stay. My conversations here will focus on education and personal stories with medical and hospital professionals, therapists, counselors, and NICU moms and dads across the country. Whether you're preparing for a NICU stay, you're currently there, or you're months and years past your stay, you belong here. The NICU is hard. We're here to help. I'm your host, Kathryn Whitaker, a mom of 6 children, including my very own NICU baby. I am so honored you're here. Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome to the podcast. I could not be more honored or more happy to be here. I love Hand to Hold, and I should probably start from the beginning and let you know what you're going to find here, a little bit about me, why I'm here, what you can expect whenever you listen and get to watch. We're going to be chatting about that. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into all those things. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I have a little bit of an accent. I'm a lifelong Texan, 6th-generation Texan. So you're probably going to hear that show up from time to time. Just hang in there. If you've got captions on your phone, put those on. But yes, it should be a really beautiful year with Hand to Hold. I was first introduced to Hand to Hold when I was in the NICU with my own baby in 2009. My charge nurse came up to me and she said, "Hey, Kathryn, there's this new nonprofit that's starting. I think you should read about it." So I pulled up this Austin American Statesman and read about it. And I was like, "Oh, that's great. They're starting." And then I just sort of dismissed it because I thought to myself, at that point, we'd been in the NICU about 2 weeks. And I don't know that I really necessarily thought that I had it all together, but I certainly wasn't willing to ask for help. I'll put it that way. And so then about a day later, another girlfriend of mine, completely unrelated to my nurse, texted me and said, "Hey, Kathryn, I know the founder of Hand to Hold. I really think you should reach out." And I took those two things as a sign that I should probably call. So I came home that night from the NICU. We had this time where about 3 o'clock, my husband would come pick me up. I would come home and I would love on my babies at home. At that point, we had 4 other children at home in addition to our preemies. So at that point, they were, 8 and under, so fairly small. And I remember going into my closet and I picked up the phone and I just kept thinking, this is the dumbest thing. I can't believe that I'm calling this complete stranger and everything's fine. I'm fine. So I picked up the phone and I called Kelly. And the first question that she asked me was, "Kathryn, how are you doing?" And it was the first time that someone had asked me how I was doing. Like everything at the hospital, as it should have been, was focused on my baby and getting him to a place where he was stable and out of the OR and all those things. But rarely did someone ask me, the mama, how I was doing. And it was such a bomb for the next 45 minutes. I think Kelly just listened to me and it was just it was a major turning point for me. And so Hand to Hold was with us through all the ups and downs. Kelly was with us through all the ups and downs. And so I was grateful for their influence. So, years passed by. Our preemie is now 13 years old. And I met with Kelly unrelated about something else. And at the end of the conversation, she's like, "By the way, do you want to take over the podcast?" So it was certainly not expected, but what an answer to prayer. And I'm so grateful to be here. We have come full circle with Luke. So a little bit about him. I was almost 40 or almost 30. Sorry, I wasn't that old. I was almost 35 when I delivered Luke. And of course, that put me into a high risk category, but also I became a candidate for the extra special ultrasound. And so at 20 weeks, we found out that there were some anomalies with him. And really, the anomalies that we saw were concerning, meaning that he wasn't growing well. So I was diagnosed, I guess, officially with IUGR, so intrauterine growth restriction. Translation, my uterus did a terrible job of growing Luke. And so at that point, we just sort of knew that I would probably be in the NICU, but it was going to be short, like a week or two, and then probably we'd be done. Well, what we didn't know is that Luke was delivered at about 36 weeks and he was about 3 pounds and change. We knew that he had a little wonky kidney. It was sitting in his pelvis. But other than that, we were just in the feeder grower area of the neonatal intensive care unit. And then on day 9, Luke contracted an illness called necrotizing enterocolitis. It's an intestinal infection. eats away at your bowel, and once your bowel dies, it doesn't come back. It caused Luke to code. We had to emergency transport him to the Children's Hospital here in Austin, and he underwent emergency surgery where he had a 2 in 10 chance of surviving. And that was our initiation into the NICU. So since then, Luke has had 7 surgeries, 16 specialists, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. And I'm grateful to say that he is a very feisty 7th grader who has taught us a lot about advocacy and loving the people in our home and being present in the current moment. And so I really think that's what drew me to saying yes to this podcast is I felt like I had enough time out of the NICU to have some good perspective, but I also felt that I was close enough to it that I hadn't forgotten. Although I don't think a NICU mom ever really forgets her NICU experience, but I felt like it was the sweet spot and it was perfect. And as soon as I left, I actually called my husband and I just started listing off all these people that I wanted to interview and all these people and things that I wanted to talk about. And so my husband laughs and he says, "So I guess you're taking the job." So yes, I took the job and I do. We have such a good lineup of guests. I have already started doing interviews and visiting with people. Some of them are medical professionals, so some of them are actually Luke's doctors. They are world renowned in what they do. Some of them are people outside of Texas. In fact, many of them are outside of Texas because there are NICU babies all over the world. And I wanted to interview people with different backgrounds, different experiences. So you'll hear from medical and hospital professionals, as well as regular moms and dads and caregivers who are caring for their babies and have a story to tell. We all do. And so I'm going to be very honored to share their stories with you. Counselors, therapists, all sorts of people like that. So I just know that it's not a singular experience. So we'll be focusing on what happens before a NICU stay. So, like visiting with OB-GYNs about high risk pregnancies and what that looks like, as well as what goes on during a NICU stay. Like, how do you advocate for yourself? What does a chaplain do? What is family centered care? And then after the NICU, I actually think that's where most of us feel the most lost. Because when we are getting ready for a NICU stay or we're in the NICU, we are surrounded by people who are giving us advice and helping us through difficult things. But post NICU is when the playing field is no longer level and every child develops differently, and not every baby leaves the NICU. But as parents, we do. And so, what does that look like? And so, many of the topics that we'll focus on will focus on what happens after the NICU and not just immediately after the NICU, but years and years after the NICU. So, all you mamas of NICU babies and dads of NICU babies that are middle school or high school or college age, I have not forgotten about you. I have 6 children. So, my oldest is in college and my youngest is in 2nd grade, and Luke is number 5. So, that is a lot. We are going to cover a lot. We're also definitely like if you're listening to this, yeah, you're on Spotify, you're on Apple Podcasts, and all those places. But we're also doing a fun thing, and I've been recording my guests on video. So these will be simultaneously played on YouTube. The best part about that is because I remember being in the NICU, is that you're not always able to have the sound on or anything like that. So you can watch the video if you need to do that, or you can listen to it in your AirPods. So whatever system works best for you, we wanted to meet you where you are. So, those are just a few things that you can expect. Almost all of our episodes are going to be 30 minutes or less. So, you know, stick it in when you're on your commute or you're taking a walk around the block or you're putting a kid down for a nap or you're washing dishes or running errands. It's just the perfect amount of time, I think, to give you some hope and encouragement and also make you feel seen in whatever place or whatever station you are at. I want everyone listening, wherever they may be, to feel like they're welcome here. And so I think that 30 minutes is going to be the sweet spot of giving you good information, but also knowing that you have lots of other things on your agenda for the day. If you have guest suggestions or people that you're like, Kathryn, you definitely have to interview this person. I want to hear this person's story. This person has so much to add for the NICU community. So you can email me at podcast@handtohold.org. So that's podcast@handtohold.org. Or you can always send us a direct message on social media. Hand to Hold is over on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Hand to Hold. I think Twitter, they are NICU Hand to Hold, but everywhere else it's Hand to Hold. So you can send us a message there. But I really want this to be a great relationship and a great conversation where you and I have an opportunity to talk about hard things, good things, difficult things, inspiring things, all those wrapped up into one, because the NICU is not a singular experience. Each one of us has a unique story and a unique experience, and I want to talk about it. I want to hear about it. So, anyway, those are some things that we're going to chat about this season. I didn't want to take too much of your time, but just know that every Wednesday you can expect to hear from us. And yeah, it's gonna be a great season. You can find me personally over at Kathryn Whitaker TX on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not on Facebook very much, I got to be honest, but I'm definitely over on Instagram, or kathrynwhitaker.net is my website. But I am a massive believer and fan of Hand to Hold and the resources free at no cost to families that they provide for you and your babies. So I really believe that they give you an opportunity to feel seen and to feel heard. I know that I would not have survived in any kind of recognizable state had it not been for the support that we got from Hand to Hold. I think I got to ask Kelly this, but I think we were the first official like mentor mentee relationship, and it was with Kelly. Now they have a whole network of people who are there to support you through your NICU stay. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I feel so alone, I feel so isolated, please know that there is a wonderful army of parents who knows what it feels like to be sitting in that rocking chair in the NICU, and we do not want you to feel alone anymore. So I am hopeful that these conversations will bless you, will encourage you, and will inspire you, and on the hard days, sustain you. All right. So with that, we'll wrap it up, and I'll see y'all next week. Thanks, y'all, for listening to NICU Babies Parent Support. Every parent and every experience is welcome here. If you're a NICU parent in need of support, please download our app. You can find it in the Apple Store or on Google Play, Hand to Hold. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't be shy, y'all. You can share it, you can subscribe, and most certainly, please review it. We would love your reviews. It's how we reach more NICU parents. I'll see y'all next time.